I do want to say thank you to everybody who's watching, and I also want to reaffirm that we are not done.
There it is, boys. Straight from the horse's mouth. We have not seen the last of Civilization 6. Anyway, let's just go ahead and jump into this video. This is a... oh, I forgot to do my intro. Hey, buddies, a PotatoMcWhiskey here, and welcome to an analysis, a cutting down of the June update live stream that the Civilization developers did. This is going to be a sort of a too long, didn't watch version. I'm going to condense down the information to as short as possible. The full live stream is an hour long. I'm hopefully going to cut it down a little bit shorter for you. We're going to be going through point by point in the parts that I thought were important.
I saw some comments in the chat about, I wonder how much is in the patch, if it's going to exceed what was in the video. I will tell you that eventually when you do see the patch notes, at our normal typeface, it was almost 12 pages long.
12 pages? That's like almost a free expansion worth of content and balancing. Well, maybe not so much content because I don't think there's going to be any leaders or anything like that, but Jesus Christ, this is like one of the biggest patches I think we've ever received in Civilization 6. I cannot be more excited.
But Carl's just going to plop a few things down here so we can start some things. He's going to put down a huge island of mountains right in the middle just because he can. Look at that.
There is more footage of the world builder, but they don't really go into in depth, so I didn't think I would spend too much time on this video talking about it. But I am really excited for the world builder for one really big reason that occurred to me while I was watching, is I could get you guys to make maps for me, and then you can watch me play your maps. If you think that's a cool idea, go ahead, let me know in the comments, and maybe when the patch comes out, you guys can start sending me your maps through Discord, Twitter, whatever, and maybe I'll start playing them on my live stream, or maybe in a Let's Play.
Also, you can see there's a little preview of the mini map when you're saving the map, and also when we're going to load it up in a few moments here.
Yeah, so every save has like a snapshot of your world. So if you're ever like digging through, you know, Montezuma 1, Montezuma 10, Montezuma 15, Montezuma 20,
Which one
and you're
was
like,
that again? Did I conquer that guy yet?
Yeah, there's tiny map snapshots now with every single save, with your maps, etc. So you can actually quickly review things.
So here you can see the mini map preview. And this is the new 7 Seas map, so it gives you a general idea of what that looks like.
So I quickly cut two pieces of footage together there, but you can see that there is a new map preview when you're selecting your save. This is going to be pretty handy when you're coming together, like trying to pick a save to go back to, trying to remember what game you want to play. It's just a really nice little quality of life thing that I'm very, very happy with. And you're going to see going forward that a lot of the changes are quality of life changes, which are awesome.
So we put together these recommendations now. We've spread them out. We've added one more, so now it shows 4. And on top of that, as Carl's going to mouse over one of them here, we can see that we're giving specific details on what makes a location good.
And here we have another really, really nice quality of life feature. I don't think this is going to make a huge difference for like really good players, but for maybe new players who are coming into the game or people who maybe struggle about making decisions about where to place their cities, having like really good information about why the game thinks this is a good spot for you to settle is really, really good. It shows you your freshwater, your regional yield, your inner ring yield, your nearest city, and whether or not it has any new resources. I think there might be some other stuff they talked about too, but this is just a really nice, cool quality of life feature that is going to be very, very welcome in the game for new and returning players in Civilization 6.
But you were asking about Canada, and down in here I have a camp. Because one of the things that we've done in Canada is we've given them +1 food on camps in tundra. Lumber mills in tundra for Canada are also +1 production.
We have already talked about the buffs to Canada, but I'm really, really happy about this. Canada, even, you know, with the buffs they got in the original patch, these extra buffs are going to be really, really elevating them to, I would say, an A tier civilization. So I'm very happy about that, and they're going to be a ton of fun to play. I'm really looking forward to play them again. Has
there been any changes in Great Works?
There have.
Yeah, and this was actually, so I kind of teased it on Twitter yesterday, but Carl, you had this idea that great works of writing earlier in the game were very powerful because it used to be for culture and for tourism.
Used to be,
yes. And now we've changed them to be 2 culture and 2 tourism.
That's a pretty big deal, to half the value of great works of writing, which were already really kind of weak in comparison to some of the other ones, with particular when you get late game multipliers going. However, they did have the extra power that the other ones didn't have because you get access to them so early. So I think this is going to mean that your culture victory is going to happen a little bit later than usual, and you're going to be more incentivized and used to using rock bands. And I think sort of following that logic, I think religions are going to be a little bit more important for culture victories because you're going to want to get that religious tourism, and you're also going to want to have that faith to be able to purchase rock bands.
So here's one of the new features that we have with this patch. You can now make lumber mills in Rainforest, and there it is.
Boom.
We have a lumber mill in the Rainforest there. You have to get mercantilism to unlock them. Lumber mills, I think, are a little bit earlier in the tech tree now.
Lumber mills are on construction, I just checked.
It really kind of amazes me that this was like almost like an afterthought footnote that they put into the live stream, but this is easily one of the biggest changes they've made to the game with regards to how you're actually going to play and manage your empire. Being unlocked at construction, which I believe is the tech that, it's not the tech that has watermills, it's the tech that triggers a Eureka off watermills, and I think it's right after masonry and maybe horseback riding. I can't visualize the tech tree in my head, but it comes so early now compared to where it did, and it's also in a much more accessible part of the tech tree. Unless you were going for crossbowmen, very rarely would you get lumber mills early when you're playing against DDAI, but now you can get these lumber mills really, really early, and they're really, really powerful because they've been buffed in this expansion, or not this expansion, this update as well. This is easily 100% the biggest change that's going to have a huge impact on whether or not you're going to make a decision between chopping and keeping a forest. Previously, it was pretty cut and dry. You just cut. But now with the buffs, that's going to be a really difficult decision. I actually think that the metagame now is going to be to put an early lumber mill on a forest, wait a couple of eras for the production boost from a forest climbs up due to the tech rate, and then chop it later. And then just like replant it so you can like do a big burst of production in the late game for a particular thing. Really, really cool. And I think the game is getting deeper and the decisions are getting more difficult, which is what you want. You want to have a hard choice when you're playing a really in-depth strategy game.
And what's going on out there up at the diplomacy ribbon?
Yes, let's look at this. We now have yields and military strength displayed on the ribbon.
More quality of life and UI updates. I could not be happier. This is something that's already modded into the game, and I'm really, really happy that the developers are looking at mods that are really popular and then implementing them into the base game like they did with map tags. Super happy with this.
Yes.
Rabble rousing gives you 50% return on the favor you spend when voting to take points away from somebody. It also gives you +1 diplomatic favor per turn. So let's go to the world rankings and look at the diplomacy tab here. I have 17 out of 20 points.
20 is the new
20
target.
is the new target number, and you now get diplomatic victory points every time you vote for a normal resolution. That's any resolution that has an A choice and B choice.
Right.
Ones to like World Games or World's Fair, those don't count.
Yeah.
But if you win the resolution, even if it's a tie, you get a diplomatic victory point. In the cases of ties, everyone gets a point. Mm-hmm. So if you and I were to vote for the same thing and tie, we both get that point. Yeah. And that counts the diplomatic victory resolution. So when you are voting to give yourself points, if you win, you get an additional point. And if you vote to take points away from somebody, you get a point for that too. And that includes when voting to take points away from yourself.
Yes.
Rabble rousing is going to be a very interesting addition to the diplomatic victory game. It's going to make it so that you can vote down yourself so that you lose diplomatic victory points, but you actually gain one back, which is really interesting. And then you can use your diplomatic favor to focus on other votes to garner those points. So I think it's a very interesting card that has a lot of possibilities. I think the diplomatic victory race, particularly in multiplayer, is going to be much more interesting.
We have, up here, we have Statue of Liberty. Statue of Liberty now gives 4
+4, it's big.
diplomatic victory points. Yeah. Potala Palace now gives +1 diplomatic victory point. And Mahabodhi Temple, which used to be +1, is now 2, exactly.
And we also got any World Congress competition will now give you victory points as well, and we got 2 of those active.
Right, so World Games used to give you no diplomatic victory point. Now it gives you 1. World's Fair is the same way. Every single normal resolution, and that does not include the Sweden Nobel Prize ones.
Yeah.
I think one of those gives a diplomatic victory point, but not all 3. But the others that didn't used to now gives 1.
So that explains why you're training athletes everywhere.
I'm training athletes all over the place to try to win this. And the other one, aid request, which used to give 1, now gives 2. And that's the case for every competition like this that used to give 1, now gives 2.
Yeah.
These are some more really great changes. It looks like they're trying to take the diplomatic victory and tie it in and integrate it to other areas of your empire. So now you have more reasons to interact with the Wonder system. You have more reasons to interact with the World Congress system rather than just saving up all of your points for the late game. I'm really happy with these changes, and now the diplomatic victory feels much more integrated into the gameplay. Kind of how like they did the religion update all way back in the day. I still think religion needs a little bit of mechanical tweaks, but this is a much better iteration of the diplomatic victory mechanic, and I'm super happy.
Industrial Zone has gotten a couple of updates here, so I'm going to go ahead and mouse over this. It used to be that Industrial Zone got a minor adjacency bonus for mines. That was +1 per 2 mines. That now includes lumber mills.
Right.
It also gets a +2 for the aqueduct, the canal, and the dam districts.
And that represents sort of like, industrial power centers having a lot of benefit from being close to infrastructure, like being able to send their stuff everywhere. So
Exactly.
Yeah.
Some really interesting changes here to the industrial zone adjacency. I think this is going to further push the game in the direction of taking power away from hill tiles and making other kinds of tiles more valuable, and also making those repeatable or non-unique districts much more not appropriate, but interesting to build and plan. So I think this is going to make city planning much more interesting. It's going to make city planning feel more rewarding, and it's going to also provide more opportunities for players to actually just kind of screw around and have a good time, which is kind of what a lot of us want when we're playing single player.
And if I mouse over this portrait here, I'm able to see all of the different bonuses that I'm getting from those units. We've now added this to the portrait of the unit. Every time you mouse over it, it'll tell you everything that's affecting that.
Yeah.
That includes class bonuses, like this says not affected by enemy zone of control.
Because it's a cavalry.
That's cavalry. And then it also shows me my unique unit bonus of being buffed when near national parks.
Yeah.
And this shows absolutely everything. So this unit here is next to this Great General. If I mouse over here, it shows me my Great General bonus, both the combat strength and the movement.
Yeah.
And it also shows me my experience bonuses from the stable, the
Because they were
armory,
trained in the city with
and the
those.
military academy. Exactly. When you upgrade a unit to a higher tech unit, like swordsman into musketmen, any bonuses that they had, abilities that they had, now stay. Furthermore, if you combine units together, all abilities get combined.
Yeah.
So they won't gain more promotions if you have 2 units with promotions.
Yeah, you can't double up on like,
Right.
experience from barracks, yes, thanks.
These are the kind of updates that I live for when I'm playing Civilization 6. Like, it's like the developers were like, hey, Potato, can we come into your dreams and how you think about how the game could be better, and like take all of those ideas and then release it as a patch? Like, this is how I feel when I hear these things. The UI is getting updated so you can see your bonuses better. Units are now going to keep their upgrades as they advance through the tech tree. Perfect. Amazing. I love you. It's going to have some impacts on how you play single player. It's also going to have some much more wider impacts on multiplayer, I feel, particularly if you have stuff like the Spear of Fionn with the Giant's Causeway. That's going to be probably a tier 1 natural wonder for war in multiplayer and in single player.
We've taken a look at units kind of more generally too. Like, one of the things we've done is we noticed that a lot of units required niter. I think it was about 5 of them.
5 units, yeah.
Whereas horses and iron were a little bit less important. So we kind of took a look and did a lot of reshuffling of which units require which strategic resources. So it's a little bit more evenly balanced particularly between horses, iron, and niter.
Right. It's now 3 units require each of
I think for
those.
each, yes.
Yeah.
Hallelujah. 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 Dude, can we just take a moment to appreciate how much a pain in the ass niter was? There was 5 different units and all of them are amazing, and you wanted all of them because if you had any sort of medieval or classical army, you wanted to upgrade all of them, and all of them needed niter. And then you would get maps, but you would never have niter. This is so great. It's going to feel so much better. It's going to feel so much more balanced. I'm really happy with this. Not getting niter was one of the most depressing things you could run into a game, because it basically said you can't go to war until you find oil. If you find oil. If you don't find oil, good luck going to war this game, buddy. That's how it felt, and hopefully these changes are going to move the game away from that.
Yeah.
Now you'll notice in the upper right here as the turns going by, the gossip notifications.
Yeah.
So this was a big fan complaint since we released the game, that oftentimes these would cover up the entire center of the screen, especially in bigger games. The combat notifications would do the same thing. we're actually grouping them together now. So if you actually click a down arrow on there, you can actually expand it if there's enough on there on the screen to see it.
And they'll collapse.
Yeah, the combat notifications show up to the left of them. So it doesn't cover up the entire bulk screen of the game. That
You can still see what's going
Combat
on,
would be
what the AI's at.
right here.
And on top of that, if you ever want to kind of visit what else you might have missed in there, you can always go to the
The gossip reports.
And it has filters, which I love the filter system. You can filter by type, you can filter by person. So if I want to see everything with Gorgo, I select that and I can see all the gossip I've ever gotten from just Gorgo.
Yeah.
Oh my god, yes. Mwah, yes, perfect. No, I no longer have to spend like my time in between turns trying to close all the notifications. And now I have somewhere where I can actually find all that gossip and maybe look for something that's interesting and relevant that I need to know to actually change how I play the game. Beautiful, amazing UI, quality of life updates that we've been sorely missing for a very long time, and I'm very, very happy that we are finally getting them.
Yeah, so something that we had heard from the fans that was always like, even since the vanilla Civilization 6 kind of bothered me, was when you ran out of great people, which was particularly common with prophets, like, you know, all the religions have been found in this game, you had these great people points that were kind of sticking around not doing anything. So you had, you know, your holy sites or shrines, you know, they had great people points. They were giving you other effects as well, but it kind of felt like a loose end. So what we've done instead is that anytime you have great people points that you can't apply to something, like there's no people that you could earn either because you're out of profits, or maybe you're at the end of the game, there's no scientists left, or you're like, you know, playing Congo and you can't get a profit, those points will be converted to faith 1-to-1. So if Carl goes over the faith per turn there, he's actually got 12 extra great people points that he's not using, so that's given him 12 extra faith per turn.
They did it, guys. They found a solution to the great profit point problem. Well, I'm not going to swear. Hallelujah, okay? I almost, you know... All right, look, this has been... It was even in my video that I made a while back where I was talking about the problems I have with Civ 6. And now... it's solved. It's not a perfect solution, right? You're not exactly getting the full value of the great profit point. But at least it's not wasted. At least it's just not flying off into the ether, giving you nothing in return. I am ecstatic at this. This is, in totality of all the changes, this is a very small change. But in terms of like my own personal enjoyment of the game and perception, this is one of my favorite changes. It makes me so very, very, very happy that we are just getting this little token. It's like, oh, here's your, like, please sir, can I have some more? It's like, here's your little one faith. There you go. And it's just going to feel so nice. You're going to be able to buy a couple of extra missionaries. You're going to be able to buy a couple of extra great people. Now you don't feel like that you're wasting that value. You're maybe not getting the full value of it, but it gets away that it just feels like a total loss. And I'm really, really happy with that. And I'm really glad that they found a solution that was very simple. And I'm so happy.
And speaking of religion, let's go back to talking about pantheons.
Sure.
I mentioned that earlier, and I'm sure everybody's wondering what other kinds of pantheon changes we have made.
I know one of my favorites is we have a goddess of fire, new pantheon.
Right.
Themed around volcanoes and geothermal fissures. So if I'm remembering right, it's +2 faith from volcanic soil tiles and +2 faith from the fissure tiles.
Yeah, exactly.
Shout out to all my boys who play every game on level 4 disaster intensity. Hell yes. Now we get to experience the beauty of a volcano erupting and raining us with lovely, lovely faith. Super happy with that. That's a really cool pantheon. I'm surely going to pick it in a couple of my games, and I'm really excited to see how it plays.
We've removed the oral tradition pantheon, which was +1 culture from
a lot of
plantations, about half of them. And then we had Goddess of Festivals, which was +1 food from the other half of plantations. Goddess of Festivals is still around, but now it is +1 culture instead of food. But it's for all plantations, not just half.
Like I feel like this patch is like a love letter to me personally. That's how I feel as a Civ player. Just taking out these little weirdnesses and problems and putting in just tighter, more elegant solutions. Just straight buffing things that are super weak, making more choices, making choices a little bit more difficult, so that like there isn't always like a default option that you pick. And just getting +1 faith or culture from pantheons, or from plantations, not pantheons. It is a pantheon, but it's not a plantation. You get, the pantheon gives you +1 faith, +1 culture from listen, it's better, and I'm happy. And yes, more.
The Pantheon Pantheon Chooser now appears as a panel on the left-hand side instead of a block in the middle of the screen.
This is one of the best changes, by the way.
It's huge.
It's small, but it's large.
Right, and in addition to that, the text is a little bit bigger because there's more room to display them. So it's easier to see which pantheons there are, and you can see your map at the same time so that you can pick.
Quality of life is my favorite thing. I'm super duper happy now. I can look at the map while I pick my pantheon.
Fertility rights, which will, in addition to its old effect of helping with the growth, it'll give you a free builder when you adopt it, which is just awesome. And then the religious settlements, in addition to helping your borders expand, will give you a free settler.
Excuse me? Did you just say a free settler? Do you want to break multiplayer? What the hell, Anton? I thought we were friends. I'm just getting into multiplayer, and here you are dropping like the mic on us. God damn, a free settler in multiplayer is crazy. The free builder is really, really nice. But the free settler, man, ooh, that's going to make first Pantheon, like, if you can get a city out that early, damn, man, that's just straight nuts. That's going to be a lot of fun to play around with on Deity. If you have a civ that like, can get a lot of faith, like from turn 1, like Indonesia, that's like a free settler. The world is your oyster with a free settler, man. This is a huge change. I honestly don't even know what to say. It's going to be a lot of fun to play around with, and I think it's going to be, especially for players who don't really care about a religion game but want to still get a benefit from it. I think that's the big thing. When you're not going for a religion, you still might want to get an early Pantheon to get that free settler.
Fan favorite Goddess of the Harvest is now gone.
Rest in peace.
Rest in peace.
Oh no. Jokes aside, this is easily one of the biggest changes to Pantheons in this patch. That's insane. Oh my god. It was easily the best Pantheon in the game, and now it is just gone.
Goddess of the Hunt now is +1 food from camps and +1 production from camps. So I'm getting 2 different things from this, and I have...
Can you say Goddess of the Hunt Russia? If you spawn in Tundra as Russia and get like a few camps in your first city, maybe a few throughout your empire, that's going to be so much extra food and production that's going to make that Tundra start even better. Super duper amazing, cool updates to the Pantheons. So happy with this one as well.
Earth Goddess, which was +1 faith from charming and breathtaking appeal tiles, is now breathtaking only, but it is +2 faith from those tiles.
It's technically worse because it's much harder to take advantage of it earlier because less of your tiles are going to be getting the +2 faith. But if you're playing, say, a tourism heavy game where you're trying to maximize the appeal on all of your tiles, that's going to be a lot of faith that you're going to get. It's less consistent, but more potentially more powerful. And I think that's going to make it a much more interesting Pantheon to interact with, because it was kind of one of the other default choices where it was like, well, you just take this because you're going to get some faith out of it, right?
God of Craftsmen, which was +1 production from strategic resource mines, is now +1 production and +1 faith from all strategic resources. So it now also includes horses and oil.
Definitely was one of the weaker Pantheons, so double buffing it by giving it the extra faith and applying to all strategics is going to elevate that one to being like easily a pick that you can take in any game and be guaranteed to get some value out of it. This is a great update to this. I'm really happy with that Pantheon change. And so far, based on all the Pantheon changes, I'm just feeling like the players are going to have a lot more interesting choices, because you're going to be like, well, I have 4 horses in this city, so maybe I should take this Pantheon, but I have a lot of plantations, so maybe I should take that Pantheon. And I think that's going to make the game overall more fun to play and also give players more opportunities to kind of build the empire that they would like to.
So I've finished the industrial zone here. I have the workshop available.
+3 production.
+3 production.
Who did that? I did.
The workshop felt quite weak. 2 production for the investment you put into it didn't really feel that good. So I think the extra 1 production is going to make it a much more valuable proposition. It might seem like a really small thing, but oftentimes when you're building the workshop, if you did the math based on how many turns were left in the game, the workshop very rarely broke even on the amount of production you got out of it. So this is going to make it reach its break-even point in terms of investment much earlier in the game, which is thumbs up, super good.
All right, so Dark Age. So what do you?
Dark Age.
So there's the new one at the bottom there, but I don't think it'll be a good choice
Automaton Warfare.
for you.
Now, what happens if I'm in a Golden Age here?
So if you are in a Golden Age, you get a free giant death robot, even if you don't have the technology yet.
Why would you do this? Why would you do this? Why would you ruin late game? Why would you do this to me? Do you know how many times I'm going to be like fighting a late game war with somebody, and then the information era rolls around and they've got a Golden Age, and then they're just like, welcome to Robot Town, Potato. And I'm just going to like start pulling my hair out and crying in a corner. God damn it. But there are going to be a lot of times where I use this myself. I'm going to have a lot of fun with it.
So for power, Carl's just built a wind farm, so it's actually a great time to talk about it. So we've added a power lens. There it is. There are a couple different ways to get to it. The one I find most convenient is just clicking on that little button right there. It'll open up your power panel for the city and also turn on the lens. So when the lens comes on, the world goes dark. It's nighttime, so you can see, all the
things
flickering
light up.
power, things lit up. It will also color code for you, as you see here. Cities that are powered are green, and cities that do not have power are red. If there's a city that doesn't need any power, like I think the city to your east over there, Toronto,
Has no color.
doesn't have any power but doesn't need any, so it's just kind of neutral. That's awesome. One more thing about the power lens I do want to show off
Yes.
is so the power plants will actually show their radius as well. So like it's a little hard to see because Canada's borders are also white, but that's the radius there of, you can see how far your power plant's reaching. So you can see that it's just out of range of St. John's, just out of range of Vancouver, unfortunately, but
New lenses hype. I'm pretty hyped for that. More quality of life, more UI changes. Thumbs up. Well done for Axis. Hats off to you. Mwah.
Speaking of units and technologies, I think we made a couple of changes with siege support units.
we did.
The
yes.
battering ram and the siege tower.
Yeah.
We made it so that the battering ram is no longer effective against medieval and Renaissance walls, and now upgrades into the siege tower, so it doesn't stick around for quite as long. And the siege tower is no longer effective against Renaissance walls.
I don't even know what to say to that. That's crazy that you can completely negate those support units with Renaissance walls or medieval walls in the case of the battering ram. That's going to really change how cities feel. I will say this, right? I think this is a healthy change for the game because cities felt like they basically crumble in a single turn, even with walls often if you have the right support units. So this is going to make cities feel much more resilient and much harder to take in single player and in multiplayer. I think this is actually going to have really big effects on multiplayer games in some cases, because I feel like battering ram rushes were battering ram horsemen or knight rushes were like kind of the metagame, or even siege tower rushes with horsemen or knights. That was kind of like, I saw that a couple times when I was playing and watching. So awesome. This is going to have to force players to be a little bit more innovative. I am worried that it's going to make players a little bit passive, and maybe it'd be too easy to defend, but time will tell. I think this is overall a good change though. Anyway, that's it from me. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know what you thought about it. Did you enjoy that I kind of cut down this hour-long thing into what is admittedly nearly a 30-minute long thing, but I feel like I condensed out a lot of this stuff, and I tried to make sure that my commentary was super relevant, wasn't going on too long. I tried to keep it to very short sentences, under a minute worth, under 30 seconds worth at most, just to give you my quick thoughts, just get through it. I feel like sometimes when people do these like patch reaction videos, if anyone plays Dota 2 here, Purge's reaction to patches are literally legendary. The man can take like a 4-page patch note and string it into like a 7-hour video. So I want it to be like fair to your time, fair to everyone's time, and I didn't want to like have you sitting around for the information. I wanted you guys to be able to get the information quickly, so let me know. I was also considering inserting more memes and like, funny meme reactions, but I wasn't sure about that. I'd love to hear what you guys would like to see in a future iteration of this if we ever do another one of these. Anyway, I love you all very much, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.